welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me for another one of my videos today. So this video goes hand in hand with my last video, all about how to take accountability for your behavior, is how the power of neutrality can help us, like how being neutral is the best place to be. Now the hilarity of this is I definitely wouldn't say I was neutral before. I would say some situations absolutely, whereas some situations I would either get very reactive or I'd be like, this is not cool, like I'm not being neutral, like this is not cool, no, definitely not. But as we know, with the law of attraction, being neutral, non-reactive and peaceful is the best way to attract exactly the same back to you. So neutrality as such, and how we can get into neutrality, because I think that's going to be like most people's questions of how do I get into this neutral space, is it cannot be forced. No matter how much you try to do it, being neutral is definitely like almost an awareness or a breakthrough in your thoughts or your mindset. So I know I wouldn't have been ready to be neutral in certain aspects of my life until I was ready to be, like until that moment where I was like, okay, maybe being neutral is the best place instead of like reacting or anything. And you know, we are human. As I said in my previous video, we are human. We are having a human experience. We are learning, we are growing, we are evolving. And sometimes we absolutely do have to speak our truth. Neutrality is not like not having boundaries. It's the same with vulnerability. You can't be vulnerable and not have boundaries. Like boundaries, obviously speaking up and speaking your truth is absolutely still neutrality and vulnerability, 100%. It is more of a case of the ego stuff we're talking about. So if you can voice your truth and you can voice your truth neutrality, like without an expectation, and expectations are a big thing with neutrality. I feel like neutrality is very much a surrendering, letting go aspect of with being at peace with what is, you know, finding peace and being neutral to situations, to people, and being able to stay in your place. Like no matter what happens, you're not shaken or you're not shifted. And that's not to say that you're always going to be neutral as well. We absolutely have to have balance. We absolutely, you know, will kind of go up and down the emotional scale. Like that is natural, that is human, and we ebb and flow as human beings, and especially as women, like the divine feminine. That is the aspects of divine feminine. So just like with everything, you can't have the light without the shadow. You're gonna have darkness, you're gonna have light. That is all the balance, neutrality, and everything of life. So being neutral is like using your discernment to know when it's right to speak up, know when it's right to listen. Like, do you need to listen more? Do you need to speak up more? That's how you can discern your neutrality here. Of you can be love and light and peaceful, but you still need to voice your truth. You still need to speak up, and you still need to say, actually, I hold my hands up to any behavior I could be accountable for, or I can just be in this place and not be shaken. And it's a tough one to navigate. It will take some time and you will be tested, of course. So it is a case of like reminding yourself of, I'm in this place, I am in control of how I feel, I am in control of how I react to any situation in my life or anything the universe throws at me. And I can react from a place of calm, peace, neutrality, and in a way that is neutral, in a way that is, you know, you don't have to be all loving if someone is being a twat, you know what I mean? Like you could just be neutral. Like you don't have to react, you don't have to add to the problem. Being neutral is being a solution to the problem, or being your best self in that situation of what is the best thing I can do in this situation? What is the best thing I can say right now? What is the most loving, neutral thing I could do right now for myself, for this person, and for this situation? So being neutral no matter what it is, whether it's a physical interaction or even being neutral to stress at work or a manifestation, stresses and family stuff, like being neutral is in the sense of whatever happens, it's not shaking your truth, it's not shaking your core, and you're not like triggering left, right and center. And that's not to say you're not going to get triggered. Like I said, you cannot be neutral all the time. Like that's just not how things work. But the power of neutrality is really knowing that when you are in that space, miracles can happen. And when we're not in a place of neutrality, you have to think the universe is always responding to our energy. Like, it is a big fat mirror. So if you are reactive, if you are not in that place of neutrality, like, you can understand why that's being mirrored back to you. And this was important for me to witness, of like, okay, energetic wise, I need to sort out the energy here. So if I can stay in a place of power, grace, love, and my truth, vibrationally, the outside has to match the inside. Like, you know, the outer reflects our inner. So whatever you are like feeling inner is going to reflect in your outer. So obviously, like, being in that place of neutrality for me was to create that neutrality outside in situations, in all the situations in my life, instead of being reactive or being like ego in some aspects, or, you know, my ego piping up. And then it creating worse problems, or, you know, not a great energy. So why neutrality is important is because if you are sat there and situations are stressful, not improving, and you're like, what the heck is going on? Or, you know, things just aren't going how you want them to, being in a neutral state is what will shift this, what will help to align this energy to where you want it to be. So again, I guess this actually kind of goes into the acting as if sphere of, you know, if you had your manifestation, if things were where you wanted them to be, how would you feel? How would you act? How would you be? Well, you would be neutral. You'd be happy. You'd feel maybe love. You'd be happy. You'd be neutral. You wouldn't be worrying. So this is the vibration you've got to match. So neutrality, I would say, is quite a letting go and surrendering vibe, with acting as if as well. But as I said, it definitely takes practice, and it absolutely is a process of, you will reach that point when you're meant to. So being neutral to a situation is like not taking things like really personally. Like, as I said in my previous video, you know, being accountable, witnessing yourself and another person of why maybe they would say or do these things, but knowing you don't have to react in a bad way. You don't, like, you literally don't. You can react positively from a place of love, neutrality, and forgiveness, and that will help you a million times over. Even if that situation goes away, or there's no apology, or things aren't improved, or do you know what I mean? Like, if things were to just fade away with that circumstance, for instance, you've still done the best thing you can do from a neutral space. And that's what this is about, is really like witnessing where you can be neutral. And neutrality is absolutely speaking your truth. And that's one thing I think I struggled with, was knowing when to speak up, to speak truth, because I was like, well, hang on, if I'm going to be neutral, is this like conflictive? Is this like, but I thought, no, this is my truth, and it's coming from a place of love. So that's where your discernment comes in, of asking yourself, is this comment or reply or message or whatever, or even verbal conversation you're having with someone, is this coming from a place of love? Is this reactiveness, or is this neutrality? Is this coming from a place where I can see the bigger picture and I feel calm, and I'm like, I'm voicing my truth in a good way, where it's going to be beneficial, where it's like, actually, yeah, it's beneficial to do that? Or is this reactiveness? And you will be able to tell, because it will either feel good to say it, or it will be like an ego thing of like, rah, 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 like all dramatic and blah, blah, blah. So you will know in yourself what is reactiveness and what is soul, what is your discernment, what is your neutrality space as such. But one thing that definitely helps me, and like I said, these videos go so hand in hand together with the last one I did, of when you can witness why people do things, why you can witness why the universe would test us, and you can see yourself within other people, it helps you to see that compassion, it helps you to see that neutrality, and actually what's happening to you is happening for you. It may be that you feel victimized by others' behaviors or words, etc., but really, like, take your power back. Neutrality is taking your power back and saying, like, I will not be moved from this place. I can sit here in peace, love, and light, and nothing will shift that. And you may shift a little bit with things that happen. This is life, you know, we can't avoid everything, and things will test us, things will shake us. But it's always just knowing that you can come back to that neutral space where you could be that vibrational match for what you desire. You could be that vibrational match for the outcome you desire in any situation or manifestation in your life. And it's funny because my friend always used to preach the power of neutrality, and she'd like, whenever I'd be like, I'm just so frustrated or whatever, she'd be like, neutrality, get neutral. And I'm like, I can't get neutral. So it definitely is an act. And I think being neutral again is like becoming okay with both outcomes. Like, this is why I feel it's very similar to like letting go and surrendering, because actually it's knowing that your truth is so much your truth in how you feel and your beliefs and in what you want or what you desire, that you can't be shaken. You were sat there in that neutral space knowing your truth. You can't be shaken from your truth. And when you're in that place and when you truly believe, and I think belief comes into this a lot, of when you truly believe, your neutral space cannot be rocked. It just can't, because you are like, I know my truth. And it's just calling that back in. Like, each time you feel shaken or each time you feel removed from that neutral space, like bringing yourself back in, grounding yourself back in and saying, you know, I know my truth. I know my truth. This is my truth. This is how I feel, and I'm not going to be shaken from that. And remember, this is all energy at the end of the day. So if you stay firm in your neutral space of where you have no attachment to any outcome, you have no attachment to, you know, your manifestations or desires or whatever it may be, you are in that neutral space where you're allowing, you're flowing, you're not forcing, you're allowing, and you are allowing the best possible outcome to come to you by turning up as your best self, by turning up as your neutral self, where you are fully in your soul, you're not in your ego, you're not reacting, you're not feel victimized. You are in that place where you are solid, and you are neutral. So ways to kind of, you know, I hope that obviously what I've explained is good enough tools anyway for you to be able to call yourself back into that neutral place. But have a look at my other video that may actually help you a little bit more to obviously help with feeling victimized maybe in some situations. But the power of neutrality can shift mountains. The power of neutrality, like, I've seen it witnessed in my life of how it has shifted things, and I'm like, oh shit, okay, yes, there really was some truth behind that. And just being in that neutral space has allowed me to be a lot calmer as a person, just actually deal with like every situation in my life so much better and calmly, and not just jumping to like conclusions or jumping to the worst case scenario. Actually just being grounded and solid in that place of like, okay, this could be shit, but it's not gonna rock me. Okay, this may be like not great, but I can still be in that place. It's not gonna shake me as a person. I know my truth, and I know, yeah, I know what I feel, and I know how I am about this situation or any situation. So that's it, nothing else. So becoming neutral is probably actually more than anything like getting solid with yourself. Like, maybe it's with decisions, maybe it's with belief, whatever it may be. Like, getting neutral means that you are solid in your truth, you are solid in your power, in your truth, in what you know is meant for you, or you know what, yeah, you just know what your truth is if someone's trying to like tell you differently. So always like follow that, believe in that, and just call yourself back into that neutral space. It may be through meditation that you do this, it may be through just mindful breathing, it may be through just affirmations, it may be through just that conscious awareness of pulling yourself back into neutrality. But when you feel reactive, when you feel like you are going into that ego place of reactiveness, or you're like, oh, I don't feel this is neutral, like, pull yourself back in, stop, breathe, walk away from a situation if you have to. Like, just take the time you need to center yourself back into that neutrality. Take that time to bring yourself back in and be like, okay, now I'm not in the heat of the moment, now I'm not in that like intensity, or the wound's been triggered, or I feel triggered anyway, like in general. Take yourself into that, like, how can I see this situation from a higher perspective? Can I see myself within this person? What's this trying to show me? What's the lesson here? And how can I respond to this neutrally? Like, and also, like, you know, if, I guess people would say like, what was if like a really, really, really bad situation happened? Like, can you always be neutral? Yeah, you can. That doesn't mean you have to be all loving almost to, you know, every single person. It's being neutral. Neutral is not necessarily one or the other. It's just being solid in your core, solid in yourself and yourself as a person, and knowing that nothing can shake you. Like, yes, you can be positive, and yes, you can be calm and neutral to someone. You know, obviously use your discernment here of what the right response is, whether it's loving, whether it's just neutral, whether, you know, whatever. Use your discernment. But the neutrality is what is key here. The inner feeling of you feeling neutral to all situations is the key here, because when you feel that within yourself, it has to reflect in your outer. The inner creates the outer, remember. So this is all about the energy behind it. Like, focus on the energy, and this is very much like acting as if, letting go and surrendering. So use all of those things together to be in that neutral space, and just say to yourself, like, this is what I did to me. I was like, what would I gain from reacting in that way? What would I actually gain if I did say this ego comment right now? Like, what would it actually help? Well, it's not going to help anything. So why, you know, why would I say it? And like, that's not to say you don't let it out. Like, let it out healthily, whether it's writing it down and burning it, whether it's telling it to a friend or a loved one securely, like whatever. Like, that's not to shame your ego. It's making sure that you're dealing with that in the perfect way, like in the right way, and then being in that neutral space again, of returning to that solid core place, returning to that neutral space, and saying like, okay, this is not going to shake me. And, you know, I'm finding like little by little, like when things come up or annoying things come up or even big things, like I'm in that space where I'm like, no, I will not be shaken from this place. Regardless, I will not be shaken. So that is, I would say, like the power of neutrality and how we can invite neutrality into our lives. But just being neutral to things that are out of our control is so powerful, because that's at the end of the day, we have control over how we feel and how we react. So we always have control over everything to some degree, because we are in power of how we feel, how we let something make us feel, and how we react to things. So if you can be in that place of neutrality and respond in the best way possible, you are doing the best you can. You are doing your work, and you are doing what is, you know, for your higher self, for your most authentic self, instead of saying something out of low level or saying something out of ego. You know, you can say that you have been that neutral energy. And remember, neutrality will attract neutrality. Positivity will attract positivity. So get in that neutral space. When you feel shaken, when you feel uncertain, when you feel shaken up and like maybe helpless or triggered or whatever it may be, like neutrality is the goal. Neutrality is the place to be. So I hope this video has helped you guys. Please do let me know your thoughts on neutrality in the comments down below, because I would love to hear your thoughts, your advice on it as well. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. I appreciate all your views and likes. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new here, because I would love to see you again soon. Don't forget to join my free Law of Attraction support group over on Facebook, where you can join myself and other like-minded souls, where we talk all things Law of Attraction and spirituality. And don't forget to leave me a comment in the comments box down below, because I reply to them all. I hope you have a great week, whatever you are up to, and I will see you all in my next video, which will be next week. Lots of love guys.